Das Reboot. How German Football Reinvented Itself and Conquered the World. By Raphael Honigstein. Read by Charlie Anson. Angst 2014. The crushing bleakness of the day was sliced through by a metallic roar. Two Mercedes sports cars driven by Formula One ace Nico Rosberg and Pascal Wehrlein, the teenage Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters driver, chased each other down an Alpine pass. Rosberg braked sharply at a clearing ahead of a tight right-left turn, then accelerated on the straight descent towards the center of the village of St. Martin in South Tyrol. As he passed an open wooden barn on his right, he slowed abruptly. Behind him, Wehrlein squeezed his car to the left to avoid a crash and shot up the driveway of a guest house on the same side. There was no time to brake for the steward and the German spectator. Benedikt Hövedes, Wehrlein's passenger, jumped out to administer first aid to the victims of the horrific accident. The steward, who later explained that he had tried to drag back the middle-aged holidaymaker from the closed-off rally course, suffered moderate injuries and was driven to a local hospital. The second man's life-threatening head injuries meant that he had to be airlifted to receive more specialist treatment in Bolzano. "I think these images will stay with me for a while," said Hövedes. The Schalke 04 defender and his clubmate Julian Draxler, who was sitting next to Rosberg, were unhurt, but needed the help of the national team psychologist Hans-Dieter Hermann in the aftermath. The disastrous PR stunt with Mercedes-Benz, the German national team's main sponsor, midway through the training camp in northern Italy, marked the nadir of a pre-2014 World Cup preparation that couldn't have gone worse. A couple of days earlier, news of a most unfortunate off-target attempt by Kevin Grosskreutz had broken. The Borussia Dortmund midfielder had urinated drunkenly in the middle of a Berlin hotel lobby and clashed with an employee and guest in the wake of his side's 2-0 defeat against Bayern Munich in the DFB Cup final. Grosskreutz's lapse threatened the clean, positive image of the German team that general manager Oliver Bierhoff and coach Joachim Löw had worked very hard to cultivate. "Oliver Bierhoff and I have had a serious talk with Kevin," said Löw. "International players are role models off the pitch as well as on it." Löw, however, it was soon revealed, had himself fallen rather short of such exalted standards. The Bundestrainer had to confess to having lost his driving license after being caught speeding and using his mobile phone while driving. "I've learnt my lesson and will change my behavior on the road," said Löw. Bierhoff, appearing at a press conference ahead of the Mercedes event, tried to downplay Löw's offence with humour. "These things happen. We'll make sure he only gets cars with a speed limiter in future." The light-hearted tone appeared particularly ill-conceived when Wehrlein's car slammed into the two bystanders later that afternoon. The Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, FAZ, deplored the German team for straying from reality in their isolated Alpine setup and for losing its self-control. The near-fatal accident outside the Holzerhof guest house was only the latest and most dramatic example of corners being cut 2 weeks before the start of the tournament. Löw had made it a central tenet of his 2014 World Cup plan over the preceding 2 years that only players in peak physical condition would be selected for Brazil, where the national manager expected to grapple with supernatural forces. But the no-compromise line was quietly shelved as key players Manuel Neuer, Philipp Lahm, Bastian Schweinsteiger, all Bayern Munich, and Sami Khedira, Real Madrid, turned up in northern Italy in varying states of unfitness. Doubts over the physical shape of veteran striker Miroslav Klose after a season with little football at Lazio added to the pervading sense of uncertainty. Instead of being able to rely on his team's spine, Löw was staring at a team sheet full of question marks. Neuer, the outstanding goalkeeper, had hurt his shoulder in the DFB Cup final and missed the first days of the training camp, along with the consistently excellent and versatile Lahm, who was nursing a complicated ankle injury. "There were days when I couldn't run in straight lines," recalls the captain, sitting in his agent's office in Munich's fashionable meatpacking district. "The team were already in Italy, yet I was still with the doctors in Munich. They were saying that they couldn't really tell me anything because the scans looked so strange. Everything was swollen." Khedira, the box-to-box dynamo, had looked woefully short of match sharpness in the Champions League final against Atletico Madrid after spending 6 months on the sidelines following cruciate ligament surgery. His central midfield partner, Schweinsteiger, the emotional leader, as Löw called him, had a long-standing problem with tendinitis.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?